Hello together and welcome to my channel. So yesterday I watched a couple of videos about the protests in Hong Kong. And for those of you that don't know, in Hong Kong there are a lot of peaceful citizens that are taking to the streets, that are demonstrating because they fear that the Chinese government is intruding on their freedom, is like undermining the democracy and is building up a huge surveillance state with millions of surveillance cameras and artificial intelligence extracting patterns from the data that they gather with these cameras. And these people fear for their freedom and for their democracy and for their privacy, and that's why they are demonstrating. And I will put some links to some videos that I've seen in the description so that you know what I'm talking about. And then after watching these videos about these protests, I also watched some videos about the social credit system that China is starting to put into place, where basically they collect all the data about a person and put it into one file. Like you have your medical record, your credit history, what you are, your shopping habits, where you go, who you associate with, like all this stuff is tracked through cameras and through collecting data on the internet. And then it is amalgamated into your social credit score. And the higher your score, the more you can travel freely. But if your score is low, then for example, you cannot book any plane tickets or high-speed train tickets. So basically you get restricted in your ability to move and to communicate and to see things, and you are like a prisoner in your own country. And whenever I see things like that, I get quite worked up because I am a strong believer in freedom and in privacy. And I believe that freedom and privacy are two essential ingredients to keep a society long-term stable and peaceful and prosperous, and to make sure that life for the people living in a society can remain actually a joy and a good thing instead of a burden and just like you being a slave for someone else controlling and oppressing you and exploiting your working power to benefit themselves. So I think freedom and privacy, and that of course includes freedom of speech, which requires privacy and requires a functioning legal state where people don't just disappear because they voice some criticism over the government or against the government. I think these are absolutely essential ingredients for keeping a democracy intact and avoiding tyranny and oppression. And so when I see things like these videos about these protesters in Hong Kong that are basically fighting with umbrellas and spray cans against a gigantic apparatus of surveillance cameras, where they are spray painting the cameras, or they are blocking the cameras with their umbrellas, or they are cutting the wires, like that really works me up. And yeah, because as I said, I believe that these freedoms are the essential protection against tyranny and against oppression. And of course, it's not only China, like the US is, I wouldn't say equally, but they are also very problematic when it comes to spying on their own citizens. Of course, the NSA has access to every server of Microsoft and Facebook and Google that they wish. They can like just go to a company and demand that they get all the data from this company, and the company cannot legally refuse. I mean, there is the whole Snowden affair, where Snowden basically revealed how the government is spying on its own citizens. There was this affair in Germany where the US government was spying on the German embassy and the German government. So the US has plenty of problems with spying on its people and other people as well. And as I was watching these videos yesterday, a thought came to my mind that I had a couple of times already, and I think I haven't heard it anywhere before, so I want to say it myself. Why is the discussion always about government spying on its citizens? For me, that makes no sense. That's like exactly the opposite of how it should be. It shouldn't be every law-abiding, peaceful citizen being completely transparent to the government, and then the government, of course, not being transparent to its citizen. For me, that's a clear sign of a dictatorship. The way it should be is that the government should be way more transparent onto the citizens than the citizens to its government. And I don't know what exactly is the justification in China, because in China it's basically not a secret that there is only one party and there cannot be any political freedom. So it's just, they basically say it works better and it provides for more security and a more comfortable life. But I don't believe that, because there's this great quote by Benjamin Franklin, I think: "A society that will give up a bit of freedom for a bit of security will lose both and deserve neither." And I think this is very applicable also to this whole discussion of surveillance. And of course, here in the West, the justification is always terrorism, money laundering, and childhood pornography. As if like every second citizen was either involved in terrorist or in childhood pornography. Like what the hell? This is like a minuscule fraction of the population that has anything to do with terrorism or child pornography, but it's always given as the reason to reduce everyone's freedom. But of course, I don't buy it. What I believe is that's just a government getting more totalitarian, spying on its citizens and wanting them to be under control and wanting them to be completely transparent so that they can make sure that they always pay their taxes, which are way too high, and that they can basically just have power over them. That's the point. Because if actual security were the point, then we would of course look at how much do these programs cost, and how much do they actually benefit in terms of security, and how much do they harm our security by reducing our privacy and our freedom of speech. And then we would make a weighed approach, but this discussion never happens. It's always just terrorism, pornography, we need more surveillance. Basically, that's the argument that's going on. Okay, so if we are talking about security, then let's be clear, where is the biggest threat? Is the biggest threat like some group of 5 terrorists that can buy maybe some rifles on the black market and shoot some people? Or is it the government that controls the entire army and can lead an entire country into a war or into 10 wars and ramp up the national debt by billions and trillions of dollars? Like, where is the biggest threat to our security and our freedom? And yeah, of course, it's in the government. Like, the government are the people in a society that have the most power to affect this society for the better, hopefully, but also for the worse. And so to me, it would make sense, following this logic, that the government should be way more transparent onto the people than the people onto the government. Like, it shouldn't be that my financial history is completely transparent to, I don't know, some agency of the government, but it should be that a politician that wants to get elected, his financial history should be completely transparent to the people that should decide if they want to elect him or not. Because that would actually be an important factor for me to decide who I elect. Was this person bribed by some guy from the industry or by some lobby group or by some, was this person bribed by someone or not? That would be important for me to know if I want to elect him or not. And also, like, the Chinese social credit system talks about tracking the spending habits of people to find out if they are potentially harmful and potentially might do something criminal in the future. And for this, they will use some artificial intelligence program. I think that would be a great idea to apply to politicians. Like, I would really find that helpful to know, based on the spending habits and on the browser history of some person that wants to be elected, is this person actually a sociopath, or are they actually trying to improve the society that I live in? That would be really helpful to know before I have to elect someone. So yeah, it shouldn't be the government snooping around in my browser history trying to find out if I could potentially become a terrorist, but it should actually be the public having access to the browser history of some politician so that they can find out if this is actually a good guy and should be elected, or if he is likely to be kind of a bit psychopathic and a bit only out for his own financial gain or power trip, and so then we could not elect him. And of course, tracking the cell phone of some politician might also be useful, because maybe he isn't bribed by someone transmitting a lot of money onto his bank account. Maybe he is bribed by being invited into some very expensive skiing vacation in the Rocky Mountains or whatever. But if we can track his cell phone and everyone can know where this guy is at every point in time, then of course we would see, he is in the Rocky Mountains. Well, why is he there? And how did he pay for it? And so, boom, no more corruption. So I always come to think, when we talk about spying on people in order to increase the safety and security of a nation, then yeah, okay, we can talk about that, but the government should be at least as transparent onto the people as the people are onto the government. Like, there is no reason why the chief of police should be able to snoop in my life more than I should be able to snoop into his life. Because he is the chief of police, he has a lot of power, and as such, we as the population have to make sure that he is a good guy. And how can we do that? Well, by knowing stuff about him. So yeah, we can talk about making financial records public, or making someone's browser history, like scanning that with artificial intelligence, or having a social credit system, but it should be the other way around. It should be that the politician needs to have a high social credit rating, and I need to know how his social credit rating came about, and then I can decide if I want to vote for him or not. That is, for me, the proper way how in a free society we should deal with this question of surveillance. It's not the people that should be surveyed by the government, but it's the government, or the people that make up the government, that should be surveyed by the public. And I never heard this in any discussion about surveillance or privacy ever, and so I think it's an important point. I'm very interested in what you think about it. Hit the thumbs up if you agree, hit the thumbs down if you don't agree. Let me know what you think in a comment, and as always, check out my website, and yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for watching, and have a very nice day. Bye.